Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, according to Business Tech, there are currently about 2,100 companies around the world with top employer status, and only about 146 of them are currently operate in South Africa. Now, to become recognized as a top employer, organizations are evaluated according to entry criteria and then participate in the HR Best Practices Survey. Now, in South Africa, most labor unions are there for employees, while the employer is left vulnerable and in most cases not represented fairly in different determinations. Now, it is for this reason that two black women, Leonora Paulsen as well as Juliet Pelembe, converged and formed an organization called Global Employers Organization South Africa, better known as GOSA, with the sole purpose of representing the employer on geometric platforms. And we are joined right now by Leonora to chat more about this. Welcome to INX Prime.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's a pleasure having you. I just want to get into this conversation now. I think it's such an important conversation as well. Now, you know, you guys created GOSA, right?
That's
and
right.
it's definitely needed without a doubt. But what would you say is the need for having something like this? But without a doubt, how do you differentiate between you guys and maybe some other employer organizations as well?
So what makes us different is that our employers organization, as you said, it's the first black female-owned employers organization. The second thing is that we would like to not only help employers in your corporate sectors, but small and medium, as well as your employer who has a domestic or a gardener in the employment at home. We also want to be able to reach out to them and help them because they don't know labor law. You know, they don't know what is the difference in a contract, why a contract of employment, and so forth. So it would be it would be very beneficial for such employers to be upskilled and knowledge and be given more knowledge about it. Also, what makes us more different is that we don't only want to assist employers in South Africa. We want to go out of South Africa. Therefore, we call the Global Employers Organization because we want to go out to the African continents because every employer has labor issues and labor costs are very high at this time. So, and another reason, obviously, that makes us different also is you have mentioned Juliet Pelembe. She's comes with the expertise of training, you know, skills development facilitator and moderator. And in so far that we are able to take employees within the company and upskill them. Instead of getting a new employment in, we can take an employee, for example, that's unskilled, who is willing to learn to be a qualified welder. With Juliet's expertise, we are able to upskill that employee within the company and help, obviously, with the external social developments within our country. And also then, when we do that, we also create more employment because now we are able to upskill somebody that is within the designated area or any other area for that matter, and then also get a new employee into upskill same.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, we are going to actually have a little bit later on the show, we're going to chat more about learnerships and CETAs in particular, which actually does then reduce the unemployment rate and opens up more opportunities. But just touching on topics that are trending at this moment, and it's been trending for quite a while, you know, the whole concept of the minimum national wage in particular, as well as employment equity. Now, these are always, you know, conversations that I had all the time when it comes to workspaces and workplaces in particular. Can you tell us what it actually means for both the employer and the employee?
Okay, first of all, we know that in order for us to comply with employment equity, we have to upskill the unskilled person within the company. So in order for us to do that, we have to obviously start with somebody, with people within the company like you. I'm going to give you an example. You have a lady that's only making tea. You'd like to upskill her and to grow her within the company and maybe have her be a receptionist, answer the telephone. And in that way, you know, we would be able to assist the employer to upskill the employee with the employment equity at the rate that it's going right now. Because you find that, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on TV, but you know, the field is still very domineering by males being dominant within the workspace. So we want to upskill females as well within the workspace and uplift them. You know what I'm saying? So in order for us to do that, we need to use employers' organizations like ourselves who would like to sit on every bargaining council and assist with your likes of wage negotiations. As you mentioned, it's a very big problem because your small and medium companies cannot hold up with the new national wage negotiation, in the sense of, if you were earning 23 Rand 69 cents, for example, and the Gazette says says that, okay, fine, we have to the Labour Gazette says we have to comply with 7.5%, and every employer obviously in the field has to comply like that. So then the employer unfortunately finds himself vulnerable, in the sense of either going to resort to short time, or alternatively say, I have to retrench because the labor cost is just so high, I just can't keep up. You understand? Because they have to, if you, for example, an employer who belongs to a bargaining council, you have to comply with the bargaining council regulations. Nobody says you shouldn't, because it's important. Nothing can happen without compliance. What we are saying is, look at the magnitude of each business, right? And look at where the business is. Is that business holistically able to provide the way a corporate entity is able to? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because your profit turnover is different from mine. How can I give the same benefit towards the bargaining council, like you as an employer who is doing much better than me and in a better bracket than myself? I've got a small business, you've got a corporate, large entity, and I can never compete with you, but the compliance needs to be the same. It's very unfair.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely, and I'm so glad that you guys do exist, without a doubt. I just want to touch on one of these different headlines that came out of one of the newspapers in particular. The headline says, rules of the CCMA Bargaining Council refuses to accept HR consultants pertaining to representation at some organizations. Now, maybe tell us a little bit more about what that actually means.
Okay, that's a good question. So I need to bring it to your attention. I own two companies. I'm a CEO of two companies. One's called Paulsen Industrial Labor Relations. The other one is as Ebenezer Asset Management Holdings. So I have HR employees working for me, and we represent employers at the CCMA Bargaining Council, as well as do the internal disciplinary hearings and upskilling employees. Having said that, if should an HR employee be a consultant, or should an HR consultant be part of a company and the company has employed you, outsource the HR to you, you are not allowed to, as an HR consultant, to represent the employer. Now I'm saying it's so unfair, because now the employer has to employ a labor law attorney, whereas the employer could have taken that HR consultant that he is using or she is using to represent them, but now it's again more money out of the employer's pocket, because a consultant can't represent an employer. So I'm saying, what makes it different if a consultant has studied the same PGDL, probably in labor law, has the same experience or even better, but now is not able to go and represent the employer? That's unfair.
Yeah, I mean, policy definitely needs to change, and it's definitely one of the reasons why, so many SMMEs fail within the first 5 years. It's because of policies like this. Definitely needs to change. I want to touch on the public in particular, and I think it's so important. At the end of the day, we do have a huge unemployment rate in South Africa. We also have so many South African people struggling with we've just seen a hike now on the petrol prices as well.
Yes.
What are some of the benefits when it comes to the public when we're looking at employer and employee benefits?
Okay. So with regards to the public, even just looking at GeoSA, for example, first of all, they will find out that we are there to obviously enhance, upskill, and make sure that both the employer and the employee is happy. I don't know if you are cognizant about this, but the good thing about GeoSA as well, with the Masita incorporation from Juliet's side, is that even the employer himself could be upskilled. So for example, if the employer wants to be a CA, he studied finance and he wants to be a CA, he too can be, because Masita makes this possible, and the likes of Juliet and myself are able to make sure that that happens within your company and implement that, whereas other employers' organizations won't do that. The other thing is, you find that the good thing is it goes back to that ratio of the percentages of the Provident Fund or the additional Provident Fund and holiday pay and leave pay. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So one needs to look at the affordability of a company. And also, maybe I should also just touch on this. And I don't know if I should, but bonus, at the end of the year, every employer would love to give their employees bonus. But it's not a right. it's a privilege because not every company does well. COVID happened and people needs to understand, you know, that every employer is also suffering out there. So we as Joe want to sit on different bargaining council and would like to get into parliament even to represent employers and say, this is the voice. We want employers to be covered as well.
Yeah, that was amazing, and it's such an important conversation. Leonora, before we let you go, just quick, you know, we're getting a lot of conversations and comments coming in. People are very excited by the work that you do. We just want to find out in a short brief, what services do you provide to individuals, organizations, and businesses?
We provide HR, IR, industrial relations, payroll, training from, accredited training from the different, across all the CETAs, representation at CCMA, bargaining council, up until the Labour Court of Appeal. And we do court applications, staying writ executions, rescission applications. Yeah.
That's a lot. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
No, you're most welcome,
All
guys.
right,
That is Leonora, definitely without her, Paulsen, just sharing with us very important information about her business. She is the CEO and founder of GOSA, and they do amazing work when it comes to protecting the rights of your employers as well. On that note, we are going to take a quick ad break. We'll come right back.